Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report, and coming up here on today's show, I'm going to be going over the Raiders draft grade so far. The silver and black have been active, and I'm going to be breaking down every single pick that John Spytek and Pete Carroll have made thus far. I'm going to give you a grade for every single pick, and then at the very end of the show, I'm going to just give you my overall Raiders draft grade as it stands right now. If you don't know, we're going to be live tomorrow, bright and early, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. We are going live 1 hour before the 2025 NFL Draft. Subscribe. Turn on those notifications. Day 3 is going to be wild. Shador Standards is still on the board. It's going to be a party here on the show. I want to quickly roll through how round 1 ended up going down. Ashton Jeanty went off the board at number 6 to the Las Vegas Raiders. Also, some other interesting prospects started going off the board. You always got to look at your division rivals in there. John Barron, Amari, and Hampton. Definitely take a close look. Jackson Dart. Big trade up there for the New York Giants, goes off the board at 25. Josh Simmons, offensive tackle to the Kansas City Chiefs. Also, Jahad Campbell. Thought that was some pretty solid value overall for the Philadelphia Eagles. But let's be honest here. For the Las Vegas Raiders, they went up. They took Boise State running back Ashton Jeanty at number 6 overall. There was not another team in the NFL that did more homework on Jeanty than the Raiders. And considering how, let's be honest, careful, when I think it's a solid word, careful this organization has been on the players that they are bringing in, and they clearly have an idea. They want good players on and off the field. They want team captains. They want leaders in that locker room, and every single player that the Raiders went out and they got today and yesterday is all leaders in that locker room. For Ashton Jeanty, he was the number 1 running back on the board, and I think that he was the best player available on the board. Whether you think that, they should have gone running back, maybe some people were like, you know what, we could have waited on running back. I hear you loud and clear. I look at this pick, though, very similar to the way that I would look at the Brock Bowers pick last season and said, you got a phenomenal human being and you got a phenomenal football player. For that reason, I'm going to give this an A grade. And I'm going to tell you this, I'm a hard grader. A is an excellent pick. B is a good pick. C is average. D is bad. F is a fail. I promise you this. I'm not giving out any Fs. Hell, this might be the first time I've ever done a Raiders draft grade show and not giving out a single F. But that, I think, is how a lot of Raiders fans feel right now. I am happy, I am ecstatic, and I really, really appreciate overall what the Raiders organization has done, from top to bottom, because you go look at some of these other past drafts that we've had, and I think of a one-word reaction. And I'm going to sit up here and I'm going to ask the nation right now, what would be y'all's one-word reaction to the way that this Raiders draft has ended up going down? Because you think about a lot of the other drafts that we've had. I know that this might be an unpopular opinion for some people out there, but I got to know, and this is going to be the pinned comment here on today's show. What is your one-word reaction to the Las Vegas Raiders draft as it stands right now? Ashton Jeanty, Jack Bech, Darien Porter, Caleb Rogers, and then Charles Grant. I'm going to give you my one-word reaction here in just a moment. You're about to get hit with a YouTube ad break. While that ad is playing, I want you to scroll on down, and I want you to give me that one-word reaction. My one-word reaction is this is a team that's been there, done that, so I'm going to go experienced. And John Spytek and Pete Carroll look like a team that is doing some experienced drafting right now. The Raiders were on the clock at 37 with the Miami Dolphins. They ended up making a trade back. Then they also made another trade at number 48, which then allowed them to make another trade back, and they were able to go out and get Jack Bech at number 58. Overall, at number 68, you had a good solid corner in Darien Porter, and then to round out the very back end of round 3 with 2 offensive linemen and Caleb Rogers and Charles Grant. So I first want to talk here about the trades, because I think when you talk about the Raiders draft grades and their ability to get some extra picks, I think you also got to be able to talk about the trades that they ended up doing. So one of the trades that they did was the Houston Texans. The other trade that they did was the Miami Dolphins. So the first trade was they gave up pick 37 and 143, and this is what they got in return. Then they were able to take this pick, number 48, and then they ended up making a trade with the Houston Texans to be able to go out, and they got pick 58 and 99 overall. I am a believer that experience, again, remember that one word. You could also say chess, because sometimes I think good organizations play chess when everybody else plays checkers. Do you remember earlier today? And I'm literally making this video, and it's midnight right now. So maybe you remember earlier yesterday, right before the NFL draft, day 2, the Raiders went out and they cut 6 players. I said on the show that if you cut 6 players right before the draft, it could be a team that's getting ready to trade back and try to stock up on some extra picks, and that's exactly what this team did. You go out and you get a Bech, wide receiver from TCU. He also actually used to be a tight end. He was a tight end at LSU before, but this is somebody who is regarded as one of the best sure-handed catchers in college football. Dropped only 1.6% of his passes, only 4 drops in his entire college football career, but also on top of that, one of the best blockers, one of the best blocking wide receivers. So you have a blocking wide receiver in Bech, a blocking wide receiver in Jacoby Myers, and Brock Bowers is a hell of a player that loves to block as well. And I think for the Silver and Black that might have been looking at offensive line, you go, I want to address the need. 2 birds, 1 stone. Wide receiver that can also block. When you draft a running back at number 6, you need a wide receiver that can block, and that's what Bech is going to be able to do here. I'm going to give this one a B- grade. If you're looking at it in just a vacuum at number pick 58, there were other receivers that I would have rather the Raiders gone out and get, but you can't look at it as a vacuum. You got to look at the entire picture. So if you're going to invest in Ashton Jeanty, you better make sure that Ashton Jeanty has all the opportunities to be Rookie of the Year. And Bech is going to be a wide receiver that might not always rack it up in the box score, but he loves to block. He's a phenomenal human being, physical player, and the Raiders are proving to me that this team wants to be physical. I got some more draft grades coming up here in just a moment, but I got to give an A+ here to our sponsor, GameTime, and the official ticketing partner of the Raiders Report. I love this time of the year because you got basketball playoffs, the NBA, the MLB is here, NHL playoffs, and being able to go to one of these events in person, you would be able to hang on to that memory forever. And I'll always say, you might not remember the score, but you're always going to have those memories. I can still remember to the day when Sammy Sosa hit a home run up against the New York Mets with Mike Piazza. That was a game that I was able to go with my dad, and that is still ingrained in my memory. It's worth every single penny. I know I didn't spend any money, and back then it was probably $2 to go to a baseball game. But you can actually save up to 60% off by buying tickets last minute with GameTime. Whether it's for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, GameTime Picks makes getting last-minute ticket buying easier than ever by quickly highlighting the best deals in the stadium. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with GameTime today. Download the GameTime app, create an account, use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code CHATSPORTS. That's CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download GameTime today, and if you're wondering what time is it, it's game time. So let's now go to pick 68 here for the Raiders' third round. They go Darien Porter, and this is, I think, the most high upside pick that they have. Not named Ashton Jeanty, obviously. Super long, athletic corner. Actually, 6 years of college football experience. Played wide receiver. Great ball skills. Probably my favorite stat that I saw in Darien Porter. And an entire year of college football, he was targeted 17 times. Gave up 5 catches. And he had 3 picks, 5 BBUs. Like, this is somebody where there is some bust potential, but when you believe in Pete Carroll, right, like, you believe in his ability to be able to develop corners, and he is a phenomenal athlete. One of the names that I'll throw out there is a Tyreek Woolen, who also was drafted by Pete Carroll in the Seattle Seahawks regime or maybe a year or 2 ago at this point. My grade that I'm going to give here for Darien Porter, it's an A. I love Porter. This was a name that I brought up. I did a Raiders draft show breaking down cornerbacks that I would want the Silver and Black to target. The only corner that I mentioned in round 3, Darien Porter. And the one common thing that you're going to see time and time again with every single one of these players that the Raiders have drafted were on the Raiders Report. Why? Whether it was a combine visit, whether it was a top 30 visit, whether it was a pro day visit. This team values relationships. I tell you that right now. Another player that ended up going off the board here for the Raiders at number 98, Caleb Rogers. Now, our Chat Sports team went to the Big 12 Pro Day. Shout out to Sam Brown, if you guys want to give him some F-Sams. But Sam told me that Caleb Rogers met with the Raiders, and he saw them, eating lunch together. And I'll be real, good player overall, but he hasn't missed a game in 4 straight seasons. He's a captain. He's played left tackle. He's played left guard, played right guard. He's played right tackle. When I think about what Caleb Rogers is going to bring to the table, I think this is bad news for Thayer Munford. Maybe it's even a potential Dylan Parham replacement next season because Parham's in the final year of his contract. A 70.9 overall PFF grade. Not so much of a mauler, but again, another guy that rocks that C on his chest. Somebody that has over 4,200 snaps of college football. If you want versatility, I think you're going to be able to look at Caleb Rogers and say, you know what, man, this is a move that really speaks to the versatility that this Raiders offensive line is looking for. And some of you might say that this is a low grade. It is what it is. I'm going to say this is a C grade. It is an average move for the Raiders. I don't even think that he was the best offensive lineman that the Raiders took on day 3. I would say that this is a safe pick, but I'll also say this. Now, I don't want to say it reminds me a little bit of DJ Glaze, but I think Caleb Rogers does have a little DJ Glaze in him where people think that he's a little bit under. I had a round 4 grade on him. We took him in round 3 at 98. It's basically round 4. But I don't think there's so much upside. But I do think that the floor is a really safe player where if Caleb Rogers is the number 7, the number 6 offensive lineman on the Raiders for the next 4 to 5 years, that is phenomenal value, and that's really good value because of his versatility. Let's go to another player that the Raiders ended up going with, Charles Grant at 99, back-to-back picks. I think the nation, for some of you, are still shocked that the Raiders passed on Shedeur Sanders twice, multiple times really in this draft. By going out and getting Charles Grant, though, somebody who fits really well in his own blocking scheme. I talked about Grant in an offensive line video that I did. You can go check it out. I actually talked about Caleb Rogers and Charles Grant as being both offensive linemen that the Raiders could target in the draft. I'll admit, both were taken a little bit earlier than what I anticipated. But Charles Grant, there is some serious upside here, and this could potentially be somebody that the Raiders look for, to move on if they don't decide to give Colton Miller an extension. Now, that's going to be a whole other can of worms, but a 90.7 overall PFF grade. Definitely went up against some lesser competition, but another team captain, another player that the Raiders met with multiple times, and for this reason, I'm going to give the Charles Grant pick a B+. And when you go back and you look at how this draft is going to unfold, dude, there's still some really damn good talent in this year's class. But I think you also just have to sit up here and go, when the draft started today, right? When the NFL draft started, we were sitting up here going, all right, we got pick number 6, we got pick number 37, and we have pick number 68. The fact that the Raiders were able to add an extra 2 picks on top of that just for today, and then you're going to have an extra 4th round pick. You're still going to have your 3-6. You're going to have your 7th, no 5th round pick as it stands right now. I could see the Raiders trying to use one of those 6th round picks for tomorrow to maybe try to get up into round 5. But overall, you went in thinking you're going to come out with 3 players. You were hoping for 3 starters. And the Raiders were able to come away today with 3 starters and 2 other really good depth pieces on your offensive line, which I know has got to make John Spytek very, very happy just because he is somebody that really, truly does value the trenches. But Ashton Jeanty and Jack Bech, it's a really good combination there. Again, I don't think that people realize how good of a combo that is. The combo grade is an A. By itself, B- there for Bech. But the way that I wanted to do this draft grade show overall was how you can't just go, Jeanty's this, Bech is that, Darien Porter's this, Caleb Rogers this, Charles Grant's that. They're the Las Vegas Raiders. You got to look at as an entire whole, and that's exactly what we're going to do here. So my overall Raiders draft grade, as it stands right now, actually, how about this? I'm going to ask y'all, A, B, C, D, or F. How would you grade the Raiders draft as it is so far? If you love it, excellent, it's an A. If it's a good draft, it's a B. If it's an average draft, it's a C. If it's a bad draft, it's a D. If it's a fail, it's an F. I'm going to sit up here and go, I'm going to say it's a B+, A- draft so far. I like the extra picks, and anybody that watches this show knows I have been somebody that's been pounding the table for the Raiders to acquire more picks in round 3, and I'm happy that they did that. We still have some good more picks to go here in round 4, but I'm going to say as it stands right now, John Spytek, Pete Carroll, I'm going to give you an A-, B+ for the Raiders draft so far.